Well, tonight the world is still reacting to Donald Trump's resounding victory as America prepares for Trump 2.0. Waleed is in Washington for us. Waleed, is everyone sort of taking a breath at this point or getting down to business?
I think taking a breath is probably what's happening. I would say the streets were pretty quiet today. This is Washington, D.C. I don't think there were many people in this part of the world that were voting for Donald Trump. It was functional, but definitely not jubilant. But you are right that now the whole world takes a breath to try to figure out what this means, what the implications are. There is no doubt this was a resounding, emphatic victory. It's not just about the White House, it's about the Senate. It was a majority vote as well as an electoral college majority. So the implications really could be quite enormous as we try to figure out how it happened and then what it means.
Frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond.
Donald Trump has won the presidency for a second time.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
It is a sweeping and stunning victory, unlike any in our history. Will be studied and debated for generations. The impact broad and deep.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before.
In modern American politics, it just doesn't get any bigger than this. Donald Trump and the Republicans retaking the White House and the Senate.
USA! USA! It really wasn't just a loss for Democrats. It was a beatdown.
With some states still yet to be called, Trump is on track for a clean sweep of the so-called battleground states and will be the first Republican president in 20 years to win the popular vote.
Winning the popular vote was very nice, I will tell you.
A blank check from the American people for a new direction.
I don't think Americans are signing up for the personality. What it is that they're willing to overlook things that they don't really like about him for the sake of the fact that they think he's going to fix the economy and he's going to fix immigration. They were speaking loud and clear last night.
Trump tells the truth. He took a bid for us.
I started to cry.
Tears of happiness.
He's a billionaire. He doesn't need to do this. He's doing this to protect all of us.
Trump's thumping victory, largely thanks to a big turnout in Republican rural areas and a massive increase in support among Latinos, especially men.
They came from all corners, uniting citizens of all backgrounds.
But perhaps the biggest election shock, the failure of Kamala Harris to win over more female voters. While early indications have 54% of women still voting for Harris, that's down from 57% for Joe Biden at the last election.
At the end of the day, far less than 1% of American voters are ever going to have to deal with abortion directly or indirectly. All voters have to deal with inflation, gas prices, home energy prices, less take-home pay.
Earlier today, Kamala Harris conceding the election, encouraging all Americans to accept the result.
Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory.
Donald Trump's success in making Republicans a much more viable option for minorities and working-class Americans, perhaps the most devastating blow to his political adversaries.
Donald Trump made inroads into areas that were unfathomable before this election.
Going forward, the Democrats have a real rural problem, and they have real communication challenges to a whole bunch of groups, including young voters and Latinos, that we thought we had a better message to and just didn't at all.
I don't know what our message was on immigration or on the economy. We spent a lot of time talking about democracy, but I think we were only talking to ourselves.
A president famously known for building walls is promising a new Fortress America around its borders and its economy. And for a people wary of foreign wars and feeling beaten down by the global economy, retreating behind those walls has never been more appealing.
Make America great again.
It was such a resounding result, Waleed. Given the Republican clean sweep, are there actually any limits on what Trump can do now?
He's got an extraordinary level of power. Let me just make one point. As resounding as his victory is, in pure number terms, it is not as big as Barack Obama's victory was in 2008. And of course, the Democrats had control of everything at that point. And what we saw after that was a Congress that was just in deadlock because the Republicans blocked everything. They used the filibuster technique. Now, a similar thing could play out. But there is one really, really big difference between that Obama situation and the current Trump situation, and that is a decision that was made in this building behind me, the Supreme Court, which effectively gave the president enormous executive power and immunity from anything that might happen while he's using that executive power. So the thing to look for, I think, in the Trump government, the Trump administration, is not going to be laws. Might be, but not really. It's the stuff that he can do on his own without any involvement of Congress. He's spoken about trying to deprofessionalise the public service. That's like taking out all the non-partisan people and filling it with your own people. And that means he could do all kinds of things. Whether or not that works politically and allows him to survive, the Republicans to survive another 4 years, is a different matter.
Well, it's clear American voters are quite angry. What does Trump do with that? How does he harness it?
That's a really good question, Nick, because the style of Donald Trump's politics is oppositional. It is insurgency. So when he's in the White House, he does lose a little bit of that edge. That said, he's not going for re-election. So he can enact whatever he wants, or at least he can try to. And the rage, if that's what it's going to be, could be expressed in things like tariffs. It could be expressed in this program that he's spruiked to deport 20 million illegal immigrants. That could take a fairly rageful expression. The thing is, the American people did vote for that. He's very, very clear on that. And a lot of Latinos particularly voted on that. So he does have a mandate and he may channel it that way.
Trump managed to kind of connect with the young male voters, young uneducated male, kind of like myself, basically. And he did this kind of by going on a lot of kind of podcasts and aligning himself in ways that we hadn't really seen other politicians, or at least American presidents, do. I don't know whether he managed to kind of tap into some kind of masculinity feeling that they kind of were lacking or something, and he was a leader. Has that been explored before in politics? And do you think that might reshape the way Americans campaign in the future?
There are a couple of things I would say about that aspect of it, Sam. So one is that was definitely true, and he certainly energised the male vote, and you can see that right across the board. That is a strong element. But the other thing, especially with non-college educated voters, so that's like high school educated, is he was talking very strongly about the economy. And this is an economy where increasingly having a college education determines your income. This is a really big change in American society. There was a time when the working class voted Democrat, by the way, where you could be working class and earn a good middle class wage. That's disappearing. And when that's disappearing, apart from the bro stuff and the affectation, he's actually addressing an anxiety that these people have. And in hindsight, you would have to say, if you look at the Kamala Harris campaign, they just didn't talk about that. Not in any way that was remotely as direct or as effective.
Waleed, thanks for staying up late again. See you next time.
Thanks, Nick.
We miss Waleed.